Welcome back to another game of GP Guayaquil Quarterfinals, and we have McGuffin on Podwatcher versus Scribble on Blue-Black Discard. So we're going to see a combo deck versus a control deck, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think one of the maybe more important parts of this matchup is that Scribble's on very minimal instant speed interaction.
Right.
So,
how many counter spells do they even have?
just 4 Breach the Mind, which is not that ideal versus combo deck.
Especially a combo deck that doesn't really require that many resources to combo off, at least in terms of cards.
Yeah, fortunately, the Scribble, Director Amitai does work really well against this kind of combo deck. That's relying on a lot of permanents with abilities.
But 6 mana.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's easy to get down, but I don't think McGuffin will have a very easy time clearing it if it does come down.
Right. Well, Valdez also... Right, Scribble has lots of discard. That's their saving grace against the combo deck.
Yeah, so if Scribble manages to slow down the combo enough to get Amitai down, or even just kind of get some card advantage flowing and just discard and remove everything McGuffin has, probably have a solid chance. But if they can't do that, it seems really tough for them to interact with their combo.
Scribble casts Valdez and names low, which snags the selective breeding. Scribble actually did think a bunch about what to name with Valdez, and it seems like naming low was the correct choice in this situation, because it snags the only copy of selective breeding.
Yeah, naming high is probably also pretty reasonable, trying to snag Godwatcher.
Well, I mean, if your opponent has Godwatcher in hand, isn't that actually just bad for them, because they'd rather selective breeding into the Godwatcher?
Yeah, well, they could have Godwatcher, not selective breeding, and selective breeding is more expensive.
I guess.
Like this Blade of Decay could potentially shut off this High Rock Ranger and maybe make McGuffin's mana situation a lot worse. So with his turn 2 Sangjin, that doesn't seem to be possible.
Oof, Crying Inquiry, that's really good. So that takes Ancestral Council and leaves McGuffin with no way to get their selective breeding.
Yeah, so not only will McGuffin not have a Godwatcher immediately available, but they also don't have a sack outlet available either.
Right. Can Bear hit yourself? It can, huh? Oh, it only hits non-lands. What are the chances that McGuffin ends up using Bearer of Tormented Truth on themselves in order to loot?
I think it's probably unlikely, considering that Breach the Mind is going to be pretty powerful with how few cards McGuffin has left.
Right.
Though Bearer of Tormented Truth on yourself is actually pretty strong, since particularly if you can immediately cast a spell. So if we ignore this Prying Inquiry and McGuffin draws a land, and they could go Bearer themselves and then Ancestral Council.
Right. Well, I mean, Prying Inquiry is definitely taking the Ancestral Council here, right? I mean, why is Scribble even thinking about this? Wait, what? They're not gonna... Doesn't that leave them dead to a land top deck?
Well, we mentioned that McGuffin has no sack outlet, so Godwatcher isn't actually a combo threat here. So if McGuffin did draw land and went Council, Fetch, Selective Breeding, Land, Godwatcher, and Scribble actually has 2 answers Godwatcher with Fairchild and Shroud the World in Doom.
Oh yeah, right,
because Shroud the World in Doom isn't the best.
Because Godwatcher is a dice trigger, not a leaves trigger.
And additionally, taking the Bear there also prevents McGuffin from getting any hand information.
Right.
So the Ancestral Council doesn't really have much utility, right? It's just fetching either Pith World or Selective Breeding? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, McGuffin can use Ancestral Council to fetch Selective Breeding and then Selective Breeding into Witch of Strange Promise, which allows them to wield their hand.
Doesn't seem super worthwhile. I guess you could, but it feels like Selective Breeding is one of the cards you want to be wheeling into. So using it to wheel is a bit counterintuitive.
Yeah, I guess. And also, McGuffin didn't tap correctly to do that anyways. Scribble draws a land.
So now McGuffin does have pretty major amounts of threats with the channel draw, meaning that they can Godwatcher combo, and Scribble not having any instant speed interaction.
Okay, they're going to Wave of Decay away just 3 drops so that McGuffin can't do that.
Yeah, smart play. Knowing that the Selective Breeding, of course, makes this much safer than it normally would. And also removes any pressure that McGuffin is putting on Scribble's life total.
Yeah. 5 mana. Can McGuffin go for it? Channeler, so that's 3 mana left, and Selective Breeding only brings McGuffin up to 3 drop, so no. But if they have 1 more mana, they could just go off this turn with Channeler and then Selective Breeding with X equals 3 to fetch a Godwatcher.
So, what do you think McGuffin should be doing here?
I think they should just be holding on to their cards to try to hit a land, maybe.
They're just Grim Bashed and tapped and pass?
Yeah.
It does kind of feel like whatever McGuffin does, Scribble is probably okay with it, with what they have in hand. So like slow playing opens up Shroud the World and Doom to kind of make sure the McGuffin can't counter combo next turn.
Yeah.
Fair Trial also removes the Channeler, which would get rid of a sack outlet.
McGuffin's going for it. Are they going to selective breeding now? I think they're getting Godwatcher now and then planning on playing Channeler next turn.
Yeah, maybe noticing that Scribble doesn't have many answers to a Resolve Godwatcher, but unfortunately for them, Scribble has 2 in hand.
Yeah, that's a really big punish. Well, actually, even if Godwatcher gets bounced, then I think McGuffin's kind of fine with it because that means they can just replay Godwatcher later.
Well, it probably depends on what McGuffin decides to fetch here. Since if Godwatcher is bounced, whatever it fetches just stays in exile.
Oh, yeah, good point. Is
But they
Ados
have-
even good against Scribble's deck?
And it's definitely not bad,
Oh,
but they should have to fetch Dark Behemoth.
okay. I mean, can McGuffin combo off with just one Dark Behemoth plus a Shroom?
I think so. I'm not actually sure how the combo works in that case.
Me neither, but if they can, then I guess this isn't too bad.
Yeah, they should be able to, since Godwatcher fetches Dark Behemoth gets back Godwatcher gets Shroom gets back Behemoth, sack Shroom, sack Godwatcher, get back Behemoth, Shroom gets back Behemoth.
Okay, so McGuffin needs to randomly discard Pithwelt, or else they're gonna... Okay, they lose out on the Channeler. That's pretty bad for them.
And this Breach the Mind top deck is a pretty nice draw for Scribble.
Yeah, turns out Breach of Mind is actually good here, contrary to what we said earlier.
Well, I mean, it's definitely good here, but this entire game has kind of played in Scribble's own conditions.
Godwatcher again. If that thing exiles Dark Behemoth and Scribble fair trials it, then I think the game's over for McGuffin. Okay, they're going to take Azos. Yeah, they're playing it safe. They don't want to accidentally exile their entire combo.
Yeah, but practically speaking, the game seems almost over in a way, since McGuffin has 2 basically blanks in hand, and Scribble has 2 Breach the Minds.
Well, isn't that a good thing? Because you have 2 blanks to discard to Breach the Mind.
I suppose so, but that blank's the next important draw. Mind that McGuffin doesn't actually have that many good draws left in the deck.
They can always top deck Godwatcher, or... Yeah, good point. They need to draw Godwatcher plus a sack outlet. They have enough mana to go off on their own, right? Just hard cast Godwatcher, hard cast a sack outlet.
Yeah, but one of those will definitely be hit by the Breach the Mind.
Yeah.
So this Bell's Descent is a very interesting draw. I guess he just always casts the Spell's Descent, right? Get rid of McGuffin's last 2 cards.
Doesn't that tap Scribble out?
Yeah, but you know that McGuffin can't combo at instant speed, right?
Yeah, but like if McGuffin tops that Godwatcher and plays it, what's Scribble going to do?
Next turn, Scribble flips Spell's Descent and flashes back.
Oh,
draw.
Good point. Scribble can do that now.
Yeah, all of their lands at the moment either are a swamp or can fetch a swamp. So, and they don't need to worry about. Decides to play Corpse Bed.
Get rid of the lands for Sanjin, I guess, but Scribble also has Flooded Depth in their yard, so it's not like Sanjin's turned off or anything.
Well, Sanction is actually turned off because only Sanction in McGuffin's deck is in the graveyard.
Wait, then what's the point of exiling lands?
That's a good question.
I guess Scribble just randomly decide to exile stuff. Is there any graveyard relevant stuff in McGuffin's deck?
No, just Sanction as far as I can tell. Oh, well, I guess Dark Behemoth, but...
Yeah, but it's already exiled. Does McGuffin have any mana lands in their deck? Or any other thing that they can fetch? No.
No, one of the downsides of playing Dork, so it's unfortunately not have that high of a line count. So see if Scribble decides to play the Bell's Descent this turn, now that they know they have nothing to do. It feels like it's pretty safe to just play this.
Yeah, and you even have Breach the Mind up.
Yeah, maybe they were just being overly safe and making sure they had Breach the Mind up.
Probably.
I think in practice, that doesn't stop anything, though maybe there's something odd. I mean, Bear of Torment Juice maybe is a card you don't want to see. Though again, there's only one of those, so not actually a threat to draw.
Yeah. Well, McGuffin also has to sack a creature now, so they're getting some more value off Bell's Descent.
Yeah, they're only forcing McGuffin to discard 1 card instead of 2.
And they manage to... Oh, you also mill off this thing.
So without Godwatcher draw, or mill, McGuffin only has 1 left, right?
How many Godwatcher did they run again?
I think they have 3.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, 3 Godwatchers main deck. Actually, just 3 in the 75, interestingly enough. And they also only have 1 selected breeding left, with 3 in yard.
Right.
So it feels like this Bell is just gonna kill McGuffin.
Yeah, and if the Bell doesn't, then the Bell Des definitely will. Or maybe the game's going to go on a bit longer because Scribble wants to play fleeting moments just to make doubly sure that they win the long game.
McGuffin doesn't actually have any way to answer Bell. I mean, no weird.
Azos,
Yeah.
technically.
Oh, okay. Yes, they do have Azos. I guess they can almost cast Azos, but
It's
it is
exiled.
unfortunately exiled.
Yeah. Bell's Descent flips into Bell God of Destiny, which I need to reread to make sure what it does because I haven't seen this thing in a while.
More
Okay.
or less, it's just a permanent Yargwill.
I see. It's
Instead
also
of drawing, you mill.
okay. So it's basically a Yargwill, but stapled to a 6/6.
So yeah,
Well,
that seems like a good example of how Scribble wants the game to go.
yeah. So looking at the board, McGuffin side, how are they gonna beat? Oh, unassuming Swineherd. Is that good?
Does Scribble have any graveyard interaction besides Bell? I don't think they do they?
Elder World and Doom, I guess.
Yeah, but that's only 2 copies.
Yeah. Yes.
Imagine the back in the pack is good here.
Right. And Seal the Tomb,
Uh,
maybe. Is that also not good?
I guess you maybe could justify it, but Scribble doesn't really rely on the graveyard all too much.
Right. Jade Vault Reclaimer. Do you really need to board this thing to kill the bleeding moments?
You probably could, I guess, but again, doesn't seem that great.
On Scribble's side, Forbidden
Not
Treasure.
essential. Yeah, I guess Forbidden Treasure might be worthwhile here, though McGuffin's only on like 5 instance sorceries.
Well, if you exiled,
Council.
I mean, if you exiled either one of those things, then you're super happy.
Yeah, but there's a decent chance that you just kind of can't. At the very least, you probably don't want all 4. Descend the Helpless is probably also good. Knock yourself along too. Lucian's Trail is another way to answer Godwatch if it lands.
Right.
Kura's Downfall is more removal.
Well, the game has already started, and both players are keeping 7. McGuffin has turned 2 Bear into, I guess, selective breeding or something.
So McGuffin decided to keep in the Pith Welts.
I guess they're really afraid of bleeding moments.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they just kept in 1 or 2 for Ancestral Council value.
I guess.
But it doesn't strike me as a particularly important card in this matchup. So I guess we also know that there isn't a ton for McGuffin to side in.
It also kills a Coalesced Elden World and Doom in case it goes that late.
So we'll see what Scribble finds off these 2 wheat from Chaos.
Lots of land to discard.
There's some more land to discard.
I don't think that's what you want to find off your weed from Chaff on turn 1.
Yeah, I think McGuffin's going to be really happy seeing that after playing Bear on turn 2.
You actually just not take with Bear because you might drive your opponent into stuff that actually matters.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe you take the Shroud of the World and Doom.
And then try to stick an early Godwatcher.
Yeah, or maybe you take the wheat from Chaff, which is kind of feels weird, but...
I mean, you can cast the weed from Chaff, right?
Yeah, so not only do you get to cast it, but Scribble doesn't have a 2-drop. I guess they have the clue from the first week from Chaff.
And they can just draw a card off the Bear. Like, that's the risk with Bear. You just draw your opponent into better cards. Is McGuffin going to fetch with Grim Bastion before drawing? Definitely thinking about it. Quite a lot, actually. Okay, they draw the Bear. Okay, I think they're definitely playing the first Bear on opponent.
Yeah, well, you definitely don't pass here.
They goofed? Oh, do they not have the mana for Bear or something? They do, right? Seclude Courtyard.
They do. Maybe they were playing through the Pith Worlds? I don't know.
Oh, I think it's because they don't have green for selective breeding anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Or, no, they...
Well,
okay, never mind. I'm not sure what they're talking about then.
I guess they have to fetch double Painland.
Okay, yeah, I guess they'd rather fetch...
So maybe they were preferring to play like double Courtyard. So then the Bastion can fetch a green source, and then the Moving Falls gets some blue and black.
Yeah, well, anyways, Scribble reveals their hand, so let's see what McGuffin does. McGuffin's definitely reacting, okay. And they take the weed from Shaft, just like you said.
Yeah, so that does mean that Scribble has 1 fewer chance to find something attractive, though, well...
Well, this is the downside of Bear of Tormented Truth. It's not actual discard, it's more like Vidinman Click.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the primary query would be drawn on the draw step.
Yeah, so, but your opponent has 2 of these.
Yeah, the second one is where you'd be way bad. But then the second one is actually kind of bad for Scribble, because then that will be... Wait, no, Scribble takes the... They end up taking the breeding.
Huh.
But it kind of feels like taking the Bear would almost be better.
Yeah, I agree.
Because this Bear is going to be taking the primary query. And McGuffin could breeding next turn for Godwatcher, but you have the Shroud of the World and Doom for the Godwatcher. So I guess just having Godwatcher in hand is pretty scary, because then Scribble would be, McGuffin would be able to just hardcast it on the following turn.
Maybe Scribble's worried about breeding into a 3-drop. If there's the second Bearer, are they still hitting the opponent with that? Yeah, seems like it.
Yeah, but this feels kind of a bit bad because they're doing it taking the prying query. It feels like you kind of need to just Shroud the World and Doom the Bearer with the prying query under it. This is especially bad considering that McGuffin's also going to be able to cast this week from Chaff. to unfold themselves.
I mean, you take Shroud here, right? Because you don't really care about Prying Inquiry, at least right now, because you have nothing important in hand.
Well, I'm thinking that you take the Prying Inquiry to cast it yourself.
But doesn't it just get shrouded?
Well, but then you force the Shroud and Bear comes back to your hand, and like the discard from the Shroud of it. It's probably just better to cast Sweep from Chat first to see what you draw to inform this decision better.
Yeah.
But like Shroud doesn't do anything here, and even though you don't care about, no, you do care about Prying Inquiry because you're going to cast a Sweep from Chat.
Right.
So this is a very weird game because both players are flooding. So we'll need to see what the Sweep from Chaff ends up drawing here. But it feels like Scribbl's very far on the back foot after the second bit of Tormentures.
Definitely.
But they will get 2 draws.
They take the Shroud. Okay, so they're probably holding the Weed from Chaff for the turn, I guess. Okay, never mind. McGuffin just unscrewed Scribble with their own bear.
Well, to be fair, the 3 moments will be drawn on Scribble's draw step anyways. So
Okay, fine.
if you want to get technical about it, but that does strike me as fairly weird.
But McGuffin's going to Weed, knowing that your opponent has Prying Inquiry and you have nothing good to take.
Yeah, this seems pretty greedy, and they get punished for it immediately with only drawing 1 useful spell.
Well, they can discard. I guess they discard 2 lands, and then just.
Yeah, discarding 2 lands seems to be the only reasonable thing, but you know that the selective breeding is probably going to get taken from the Prying Inquiry.
Yeah. The Shroud only hits creatures. Okay, so like Shroud is just bad to cast for McGuffin.
Yeah, probably not going to be cast this game at all, since casting would put in Scribble's graveyard.
Right.
Does Scribble know about this pinball? No, right?
Are you no, they do, right? Because that thing's, yeah.
So, especially with knowing that McGuffin has a Pithwell, I don't think there's any chance that Waiting Moments is played here.
Yeah, so Prying Inquiry takes the actually good card. That actually is a big misplay, because if McGuffin just held onto the Weed from Chaff for 1 more turn, they could have drawn a selective breeding and then cast it right away on one of the bears.
Yeah, there are 2 unknowns in Scribble's hand, which could be like a Will Decay.
Right.
Since Scribble does play 4 of those, which would kind of wreck you, because McGuffin does at least get the clue, guaranteed.
Right. Cleanup Crew, so that's a sack outlet.
That's one of the pieces. So if they manage to find the second piece next turn, then it's looking really good for them.
So I guess they crack the clue end of turn. They're going to play out Cleanup Crew. I guess they assume that Scribble doesn't have any removal since bears haven't been removed yet.
Yeah, and also just to like actually get a Godwatcher in play, you do need to play Cleanup Crew here, since you only have 4 mana.
Ooh, Ballast Ascent. That's actually that's not that good for Scribble, because McGuffin can just sack one of their bears and then discard their Pithwell.
Yeah, and also this island is kind of getting in the way of flipping it. Honestly, it might be better to just crack 2 clues here.
You mean Fleeting Moments? That's basically as good as cracking Clue, right? Draws you a card.
I guess crack Clue first, then if you don't draw anything useful, Fleeting Moments.
Yeah.
But it is kind of weird giving McGuffin a good Pithwell target.
I mean, if you're playing Pithwell, it's the... Wait, what? Oh, yes, cracking 2 clues, I guess.
I think this was just a mistake. I don't know why you wouldn't crack a clue main phase.
Wait, did McGuffin just miss cracking their own clue end of turn?
Looks like it.
Okay, and now they realize.
Yeah, so Channel is a bit scary here. Since Scribble isn't on that much life, they will be able to probably play Zan again next turn, just gain some, but...
Yeah, but playing out Channel means that Scribble can't get rid of both sack outlets with a single Xanagan uptick.
Yeah, they need to draw a Wave Decay or a Nautilus Upwelling to deal with both. Granted, that is likely 6 cards of their deck, but they haven't drawn yet.
Yeah, and now McGuffin can also use Cleanup Crew to surveil themselves into the combo pieces, since they have enough creatures to throw. Wait, they're going to crack Clue at sorcery speed.
That seems pretty fair.
Anesthetic? I guess they play this thing out.
So this spot is looking pretty good for Scribble. They do need to draw something off these clues, but...
That's 2 draws, and then plus the draw from the draw step, so that's 3 cards.
Yeah, and they are a bit low on life total, but...
Wait, McGuffin's just going to pass. They're not even keeping a Pithwell.
I guess Cleanup Crew is good enough, play around the Wave Decay. No reason to get both these sack outlets hit by it.
But then why are you not playing Anesthetic?
Play around Breach the Mind, I guess.
No, if you get Anesthetic Breach, then that's good, because it makes your opponent waste Breach on something that doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, holding it in hand so that you can discard it to Breach.
It seems like Scribble actually does have Breach now. That's about Dez.
So Scribble could Xanagan, but they could also Actually, there's a lot of choices here with the Breach and the Valdez. Something like Valdez plus Valdez would clear up McGuffin's hand entirely,
Yeah.
which might be worthwhile. But you could also hold up Breach as well. Like fleeting moments, Valdez Breach.
Yeah, and maybe you'll actually get fleeting moments to trigger for once, because I haven't seen fleeting moments get extra counters this entire GP.
I think I'd feel inclined to go Valdez plus Valdez, discard Moreland plus fleeting moments, mainly because this fleeting moments losing life is kind of scary when that line puts you down to 6 after attacks.
Scribbl's going to start off with Valdez to see what's in their opponent's hand.
What line do you like from McGuffin, from Scribble here?
Well, since you already used Valdez, you might as well not play fleeting moments because you missed a discard off that, so you might as well just play Bell's Descent and, empty your opponent's hand.
I mean, it's not like you really care about the extra counter too much, because if you survive like 3 fleeting moments draws, you've probably won.
I guess.
So I don't think playing Valdez first necessarily makes that a worse play. They can't actually fleeting moments plus Priest Mind because they only had 1 blue source.
Right. So yeah, Bell's Descent. Make your opponent discard their entire hand.
McGuffin does get a bit punished for not holding up the Pithwell here, since it could kill Scribble's clue.
Did they?
Not with the island, but if they tap differently for cracking the clue.
I guess, but is it worth it?
I mean, this is being discarded.
Oh yeah, good point.
So,
okay, Mill the Monument. That's interesting.
So thoughts on McGuffin EOT sacrificing the bearer to clean up crew?
Yes, definitely. You need to dig now. Valdez is coming down and it's going to be active, so yeah, you are kind of desperate.
So that's not too.
Okay, Pithwell, yeah, that's with no target.
Yeah, Pithwell's keeping in more than one has seemed to be a bit sketchy here.
It was down to 7 though, so maybe McGuffin gets there with whatever.
Yeah, this Xanagan feels like she's going to seal the game.
Wave decay.
Wave decay, potentially even more so. But this cleanup crew dying means that doesn't really feel like there's that many outs for McGuffin. So I suppose a podcasting Podwatcher might get there, maybe.
Yeah.
At the very least, Scribble has no answers to it right now.
I mean, they just have to hardcast Godwatcher and then draw into a sack outlet, right?
Yeah, but that's kind of starting to feel like McGuffin's only way out of this spot.
Okay, Scribble's going to keep up Breach the Mind this turn. McGuffin's definitely going to start scrying with Cleanup Crew now. They're not going to miss that. They can pretty aggressively try to dig for stuff.
Yeah, unfortunately this Breach the Mind will stop any plans that they have.
They mailed a Shroom. I guess it doesn't matter because, yeah, you don't actually need Shroom in your deck for a combo. Ancestral Council, yeah, that's a pretty good draw if Scribble didn't have Breach the Mind.
It does feel like this is getting breached.
I mean, of course it is.
Maybe not necessarily obligated to breach it, since it's getting a selected bleeding. Yeah, I guess it's just better to breach this than what it fetches.
I mean, technically, if you let your opponent fetch first and then counter the breeding, then it's 1 more breeding out of their deck. But yeah, you're just going to breach first.
Yeah, breeding turning a bunch of other things into good draws is maybe not the best thing.
Okay, now it's Xanagan time, right? There's no debate here.
Yeah, definitely. I think regardless what Xanagan ends up doing here, and on these next few turns, it's going to be great for Scribble, whether they decide to go up to -7 or if they decide to -3.
I mean, technically, I guess Scribble can try to -3, and then McGuffin tries to kill Scribble. Okay, there's Godwatcher, and Scribble has no way to deal with it right now, so if McGuffin top deck a sack outlet, I think this might actually be a win.
Yeah, it's starting to look like a -3 from Xanagan happening here. But worst case scenario, Scribble can -3 Xanagan, find the Fist Swamp, put Bell's Descent, and Breach Mind on the graveyard.
Right. Do they have Shrouded World and Doom? No, they don't. It's exiled. McGuffin's thinking pretty hard about what to fetch. I think here you definitely fetch Dark Behemoth, because if you fetch Azos, you don't actually win.
Yeah, Azos not dealing with Xanagan is kind of rough. Even though McGuffin does have outs here, it's looking pretty grim with how many opportunities Scribble has to find an answer.
In Xanagan, well, -3 time. Technically, Scribble can whiff, but no, they don't. And Lucian's Trail, there you go. That's one way to answer Godwatcher.
Pretty darn good one, too.
Yeah.
So this does delay Scribble's clock a little bit, but with McGuffin needing multiple draws to go right in a row, seems like that doesn't matter too much.
Yeah, here's the Lucian's Trail. Rip Godwatcher.
So it feels like at this point, it's probably just over.
Yeah, definitely.
I think even with perfect draws from McGuffin and the worst possible draws from Scribble, just the Bell's Descent being able to flip and get back. Breach the Mind is probably just good enough by itself.
I mean, balls isn't flipping, just whacking McGuffin to death.
Yeah, it does that too.
Right.
But just a single piece of interaction with Breach the Mind seems good enough to completely stop any chances McGuffin has at this point.
Yeah.
And it's even assuming that Scribble draws absolutely nothing off this clue or the draw step or.
Yeah, Prix. Huh. So I guess McGuffin did get draws that they needed, but Scribble got better draws. Or they had Zangian to get what they needed. But this game was surprisingly close. If Scribble didn't get any way to remove Godwatcher, then I think McGuffin just wins there.
Now
they flip. Yeah.
But at the same time, Scribble does have a whole load of draws. And again, they did have the just hitting a swamp to flip all the time, but would give them Breach the Line.
Yeah. Oh, Florence going to be swinging for 9 off all the Zangian emblems.
Yeah, so that means that McGuffin would have exactly one turn to do stuff, which is not going to be enough.
They're going to keep off the Surveil, so whatever's on top, McGuffin must think it's amazing.
I'd have to imagine it's a Godwatcher.
That'd be hilarious, at least.
But the strat, again, Breach of Mind and Graveyard, Shroud the Doom, well then Doom if it resolves. Plenty of options for Scribble to deal with whatever comes off the top of it.
Yeah, Scribble even getting to play lands from the graveyard. Yeah, ball whack them for 9. So hilariously enough, with Lead from Chaff with ball in play, it's basically you mill 2 cards and then you exile 2 cards from your hand. Probably Inquiry takes.
Not the best with ball in play.
Yeah.
Though just having ball in play is probably going to win you a lot of games.
Okay, what's the amazing card that McGuffin kept on top? It's Witch of Stream's Promise, which lets you draw another card. What's in the box? Oh, never mind. Okay. McGuffin concedes at the exact right time.
McGuffin really didn't get any particularly great draws. Scribble had the interaction.
Yeah.
Definitely felt like that. Those pith wilts were kind of rotting in McGuffin's hands in both game 1 and game 2.
I guess McGuffin also sort of misplayed that game. At least there was
minor errors with not sacking the clue, and probably should have sacked the bearer to try and find Podwatcher.
And also just casting Weed from Chaff off the bearers when you know that your opponent has Prying Inquiry waiting in hand.
Yeah, that was definitely a pretty rough type of sequencing.
But that does mean that blue-black discards making it to the semifinals, which is not something I would expect it to happen, honestly.
Yeah, definitely a very weird thing to happen when I think Scribble's mentioned that they have not been very happy with these fleeting moments, ironically. But just kind of this solid blue-black shell. And really, the Wave Decay has been very impressive in a ton of matchups.
Helps you stabilize a lot against aggro decks, I guess.
And even in the match against like Black-White Angels, being able to clear both the Profane Imitate and a Disciple of Fairda is just very impressive for a removal spell, in addition to gaining 4.
Yep. Well, anyways, Scribble moves on to the semifinals, and McGuffin, I guess Podwatcher isn't going to make it. So, yeah, that's the game.